أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وما خلقنا السماء والأرض وما بينهما لاعبين لو أردنا أن نتخذ لهوا لاتخذناه من لدنا إن كنا فاعلين بل نقذف بالحق على الباطل فيدمغه فإذا هو زاهق ولكم الويل مما تصفون وله من في السماوات والأرض ومن عنده لا يستكبرون عن عبادته ولا يستحسرون يسبحون الليل والنهار لا يفترون أم اتخذوا آلهة من الأرض هم ينشرون لو كان فيهما آلهة إلا الله لفسدتا فسبحان الله رب العرش عما يصفون لا يسأل عما يفعل وهم يسألون. صدق الله العظيم. In the previous ayahs of the Surah Al-Anbyaa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us about some of the nations who rejected the orders of Allah, and because of their rejection they were destroyed. In these ayahs, starting from ayah number 16, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us the purpose of creating this universe, so that the same mistake won't be repeated. The people in the past did not understand the purpose of the existence, did not realize the purpose of the creation of this universe. It was a major mistake they made. They studied everything else but did not study the purpose of the existence of this universe and thus the purpose of their own existence. And because of that they made some major mistakes. Such major mistakes that caused their destruction and they deserve the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that those type of mistakes won't be repeated anymore. Very important, because this was a major mistake in the past. This mistake should never be repeated. In case at any time if this mistake is repeated, the same thing will happen of what had happened in the past to those nations. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us, وَمَا خَلَقْنَا السَّمَاءَ وَالْأَرْضَ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا لَاعِبِينَ. And we did not create the heavens and the earth and whatever is in between them for playing, for sport, for wastage of time, for no reason. As in another ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, وَمَا خَلَقْنَا السَّمَاءَ وَالْأَرْضَ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا بَاطِلًا. We did not create the heaven and the earth and whatever is in between them for no reason. ذَلِكَ ظَنُّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. That is the thought of the disbelievers, of the kuffar, who think that this world is created for no reason. It's only for us to enjoy our lives, to live for some time and then go. That's all. That's the end of it. The beginning is when you came and the end of the world is when you leave. That's it. Your beginning and end, it's everything. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, no, this is a major mistake. ذَلِكَ ظَنُّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. This is the thought of those who were disbelievers. فَوَيْلٌ لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا مِنَ النَّارِ. In Surah Al-Dukhan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, مَا خَلَقْنَاهُمَا إِلَّا بِالْحَقِّ وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَهُمْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. We created the heaven and the earth for some reason, for some very important purpose. But وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَهُمْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Most of the people don't know. Most of the people don't realize the purpose of the existence and the purpose of the creation of this universe, of the heaven and the earth. But before going into the purpose, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us another very important fact. He says there are people who may think that this life is everything. When we came to this life, we were children, we grew and we studied, we went through a lot, and then at the end we will die and this is everything. So of course they also realize that there is a creator. They did not create this universe. There is someone else who created the universe. They would come and go. But there is someone else who's there and who created everything for them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَوْ أَرَدْنَا أَن نَتَّخِذَ لَهْوًا لَاتَّخَذْنَاهُ مِن لَدُنَّا. If I wanted to make something for pastime, for just enjoying, I would not make something from what you people have in this world. لَاتَّخَذْنَاهُ مِنْ لَدُنَّا. We would have made it from before ourselves. Which means I would have made something in the heaven, not out of this dirt that you people make things out of. And then the things that you are made out of, these things you can see, they all get destroyed. And dirt is dirt after all. He did not even create the Jannah for us, not for him. Even the Jannah that he created for us, he did not create that Jannah out of this dirt. So, how about if he wants to make something for himself? Is he going to create it out of this dirt? Out of this world? No. لَاتَّخَذْنَاهُ مِنْ لَدُنَّا. We would have made something from ourselves. إِن كُنَّا فَاعِلِينَ. If we were to do something like this. Of course, he's telling us that I would never do something like this. I would never create something to play. I would never create anything just to enjoy for myself. I don't need those things. He does not need these type of things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wal-'iyāzu billah, it's not that he gets bored and therefore he wants to do something so he doesn't know, so he'll create the universe. That is not the purpose. That is not the reason. It's a major mistake to think that that is the reason. In fact, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was to make something, as he says, if I was to make something and just, in other words, just as we say, that for the sake of argument, if we accept he was to make something, he wouldn't make something from us here, from here. One of the reasons Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning this is because there are people who assign children to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just like the kuffar used to say, Quraysh and the people before them, they used to claim that angels are the daughters of Allah wal-'iyāzu billah. And there are people who assign a son to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With that type of relationship, this is all called lahu, which means something to pass time, something to enjoy ourselves with, whether it's wife, whether it's husband, whether it's children. All of these things are part of this lahu in this dunya. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, why would I need something like this? And if I need it, if I was to make something, why I would make something from your dunya? If I'm making something better than anything that you have around here in this dunya for you, on the heaven, in Jannah, I'm creating food for you, I'm creating everything else for you, so why would I make something out of this dunya to choose for, wal-'iyāzu billah, to be a wife and to be children for me? I would choose something from myself over there, something clean and pure, something that does not need this world, something that will not have all the weaknesses that normal human beings would have. لَاتَّخَذْنَاهُ مِنْ لَدُنَّا إِن كُنَّا فَاعِلِينَ. If I was to make something. But this is not the purpose of the existence. This is not the purpose of creating this universe. Imagine having this whole universe and then people struggling, people going through hardships, people going through difficulties, and always there is a debate between haqq and batil. Always people are struggling to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there are people who are holding upper hand. They're holding power and they are hurting others. They may be doing wrong to others. All of this for nothing, just for Allah to enjoy, to watch and enjoy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not be doing any injustice to human beings that he would make all of this happen just for him to enjoy. That he's sitting there and watching, in all days. If you read the history, you would see that the Romans, when they used to enjoy in those days, and some of their enjoyment, of course, if they have a theater and they don't have the modern technology to play it on the screen, so what they would do? I'm sure now you can understand. They would make it happen in front of them in reality. With all the nonsense that they would sit and watch over there, part of it was, of course, no movie is complete without some crime, some scenes of crime, and so that people will get violent and learn from that if you don't know. Here, those people wanted to enjoy and have something like this also. How are they going to see some of those type of scenes? So what they used to do is get lions from the jungles and keep these lions hungry for some days. are these different type of beasts that will go and get them from the jungles, keep them hungry, dig a deep hole, and now the hole is in the theater. So they all will sit up there and watch. It's just like the theater now. So they will sit up there and watch, and the lion is thrown down there, or the beast is thrown down there, and now some of these poor slaves will have to fight these beasts. They may give them sometime a sword and tie their hand behind their backs, tying it with the neck, so you won't be able to move one hand. It's only one hand with a sword. Let's see how he do. Enjoying themselves. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes something like this, wal-'iyāzu billah, normal human being won't think of doing anything like this. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this is not the purpose of creating this whole universe, that some people are killing others, some are doing wrong to others, some are struggling, some are sick, some are dying out of diseases, and I created all of this for no reason and just to sit and watch? No, it's impossible. See what type of proof he's bringing so that we can realize that there is a great purpose behind the creation of this universe. And really, it's a beautiful way of reminding us of this fact. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, there is a purpose. And the purpose, we can derive it from this ayah where he says, بَلْ نَقْذِفُ بِالْحَقِّ عَلَى الْبَاطِلِ فَيَدْمَغُهُ فَإِذَا هُوَ زَاهِقٌ. What we do is, we throw the truth against the falsehood. نَقْذِفُ بِالْحَقِّ عَلَى الْبَاطِلِ. Whenever there is falsehood, we get the truth and we throw it on the falsehood. What does it happen now? What will happen when the truth comes? And the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is putting it is not that there was a falsehood and truth will just come. When the truth comes, it does not just come, it hits the falsehood. There is always in dunya, you see throughout the history, whenever there is a batil, just when the haqq comes, the truth comes, batil gets so scared of it that they start plotting, planning, running away, and doing all of these different things against this truth. Why? When you see it, you try to convince people, we are not going to do nothing there. Nothing will happen to you. But when that person who's with the batil, with holding falsehood, when they see the truth coming, they get so scared. They know that something is coming to bite them now. Something is coming to take the lives up. That's it. They won't exist anymore. Whatever customs, traditions they may have, none of this will exist anymore if this haqq will come. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala beautifully explains, he says when haqq comes, it comes just like when you take something and you hit a person on his head with it. And you hit the person so hard is not that the person will have a wound on his head. This is not the type of hit. In fact, it may be that you are not just using a normal hammer to hit the person on his head. You are using a sledgehammer. Imagine if a person comes with a sledgehammer and smashes another person's head. What will happen? فَيَدْمَغُهُ dimag. What does dimag means? Brain. Hits it so hard that the brain of that person comes out. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, بَلْ نَقْذِفُ. قَذَفَ يَقْذِفُ in Arabic language means to throw something very hard. It's not just to bring something, it's to throw it. بَلْ نَقْذِفُ, we throw بِالْحَقِّ عَلَى الْبَاطِلِ. Throw the truth on the falsehood. So what happens to the falsehood? فَيَدْمَغُهُ, the truth breaks the head of the falsehood and the brain of the falsehood is damaged. فَيَدْمَغُهُ, this is يَدْمَغُهُ, that the brain of the falsehood gets damaged by the haqq coming and by the haqq getting there, where the falsehood is there. And here we can see a very important thing that many times we miss it. When we are trying to work for deen and trying to establish deen, we forget this very important fact. A lot of time we start counting. Look, there are 100 evils. To fight these 100 evils, we need to do a lot. We need to do this. We need to bring 100 different ways, 100 different means to fight this all of this batil and all of these sins and all of this wrongdoing in the community. You don't have to bring all these 100 different things to 500 things over there. All the batil is just one. All what we need to do is bring the haqq over there. Bring the haqq. The haqq gradually will overtake the batil. Do what you're supposed to do. Don't try to fight the batil from the very beginning. Don't try to come and challenge people. Don't do that. If you see people who are not praying, the best thing is when you are amongst them, just get them and pray. Now, amongst all of that batil which is not praying, when one haqq will come, the batil will start shaking. The batil will not just be able to sit and look and watch and enjoy. It does not happen. فَيَدْمَغُهُ. This haqq will damage the batil so badly that the batil will lose its senses. It will give up finally. This is what always happened. Anbyaa alayhimus salatu wassalam, when they came. How many times we read in the hadith, in the seerah, that Anbyaa alayhimus salatu wassalam telling people that don't be afraid. I'm just talking about the oneness of Allah. The kuffar of Quraysh going to Abu Talib. Please stop him. Stop him from conveying the message. He says, okay, I won't talk to you people, but let me do what I'm doing. No, we can't even let you do that. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, when he was leaving Makkah Mukarramah, a person with the name Ibn al-Dughunna, he came to him, asked him, Abu Bakr, where are you going? He says, I'm leaving Makkah because I can't live in this town anymore. They're torturing us so badly and we are going through so many hardships on the hands of our own people that I can't take it anymore. He says, no, Abu Bakr, impossible for a person like you, such a valuable person, such an important person in the community, to leave us and go away. I can't let you do that. Come back and you will be under my protection. He's a kafir too. But no, Abu Bakr, I can't let you go, a person like you. You're an asset for our community. You're a very valuable asset for our community. Come back and I will protect you. As long as you live there, you will be under my protection. And he goes over there. He announces to all the kuffar, he's one of the leaders, he announces to all the kuffar that no one is allowed to harm Abu Bakr anymore. So they went to him. The rest of the leaders, they went and approached him. Okay, if you want to do that and you want to protect him, then at least do us a favor. Tell him to do the ibadah at his own home, not to come out and do it in public. We won't allow that to happen. He goes to Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr started doing the salah in his house. Now, his voice was so nice with the recitation of Quran, so much effect on the hearts of people who would listen to that recitation, that beautiful recitation of the words of Allah from a person like Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu anhu, that people said it, their wives, their women, their children are all getting around the house of Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu, and they're listening to the recitation. Now Abu Bakr, he keeps on reading and reciting, and he's crying, and everyone is listening and crying. They went to Ibn al-Dughunna. Look what's happening there. Stop him from doing that. Abu Bakr said, what wrong I'm doing? I'm reciting my Quran. I'm reciting the Quran. And they listen to my recitation. What can I do for them? You stop your wife, you stop your daughter, you stop your children. Why are you stopping me? And I'm not doing anything wrong to you people, but look, they could not accept that haqq over there amongst all of that batil. Just one person reciting the Quran, subhanallah, and they are so disturbed by that recitation. Why? When haqq comes, it really damages the batil so badly, batil cannot take it. So batil sees when the haqq comes, batil sees. This is why you always see, if a person is doing something wrong, goes to clubs, he's involved in all the haram, everyone is silent. No one talks about the person. Occasionally, if anyone will say, oh, the poor man, he's misled, he needs a lot of help, and feeling sorry for him. All of a sudden, this person changes. He starts offering salah. Wherever he is, he may just get up and call the adhan and start calling for people for salah. Right away, everyone gets worried. Look what happened to him. We don't know what's wrong with him anymore. He was wrong, he was fine up to now. SubhanAllah, knowing of every wrong that this person was doing, and still they were okay with it. As soon as they know that he started doing something good for the deen of Allah, all of a sudden everyone is scared. What is curious? بَلْ نَقْذِفُ بِالْحَقِّ عَلَى الْبَاطِلِ. They see when the haqq comes, the batil will go away. And haqq can be seen as trust. Everyone will recognize that, oh, this is the haqq. So in other words, there is a fear now that if this haqq will continue in our community, within our homes, within our societies, then our batil will not be able to continue anymore. So let's quickly deal with it and try to stop him from bringing this haqq. So the point we learn from this ayah is, when there is a lot of batil, all we need to do is bring the haqq over here. Start practicing what you're supposed to practice. Don't fight. Don't argue. Leave people alone at that time. You start doing what you're supposed to do. Once that will take place, once that will come in effect, when this thing will be established, people around us will see that haqq. They will be affected by the haqq. How many times do we see throughout the history of Islam and of the days before Islam, if we call it before Islam, from the time of other Anbyaa alayhimus salatu wassalam in our nations, one person establishing the deen in his life or her life, changing the life of nations. One person changing the life of nations, not by arguing, not by fighting, just by practicing and putting into this practice in the life the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People started recognizing the truth. They started seeing the truth. And they started accepting the truth. For how long they are going to reject it? Yes, there will be rejectors. There will be those who don't want to see it, who don't want to accept it. But of course, there are always people who would love to see the truth. They are kept away from it. Regardless of whose mistake that would be, they are kept away from it. And when they see it, they would like to come to it. They would like to embrace it. They would like to take it. And this is what always the haqq does. This is our responsibility for those of us who have any concern of the deen. Just start bringing deen into the life. And you will see the changes coming in people around you. فَإِذَا هُوَ زَاهِقٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us about the falsehood, that this is the nature of the falsehood, that it vanishes, it goes away. فَإِذَا هُوَ زَاهِقٌ is a very important fact, that this is the nature of the falsehood. Falsehood remains only as long as there is no haqq. When the haqq comes, falsehood has to leave. That's the nature of it. Falsehood is only nifaq and munafiq. Munafiq does not stay in front of truthful people because he's a liar. Does not always stand in front of truthful people. He knows that I'm lying. I said something to this person. I said something else to this person. Both of them are standing in front of me now. What am I going to do now? So the best thing for me is to leave. This is falsehood. Darkness does not stay if the light would come. All we have to do, if a person will come to a dark room and he wants to chase the darkness out. I'm going to fight this darkness and chase it out of this room. And he keeps on taking every measure and every weapon he can have in his life and start exploding all of those weapons that let me kill all of this darkness. It won't happen. The best thing for him? Very easy. Turn the light on. Switch it on. The light will come, the darkness will go. The question is nowadays, many times, the thing that worries us really is that there is so much darkness. It's easy. It's very easy. When there is more darkness, all you need is more light. Just bring that light. And don't get weak. Don't give up. There is a need for having a lot of light. If 100 years ago, a lamp of 100 watts was enough, now we may need a lamp with 200 watts. We need something strong. But we need to bring that light, the darkness will go away. فَإِذَا هُوَ زَاهِقٌ. This is the nature of the darkness. It goes away when the light comes. Batil This is the nature of it. In other words, if we look in Quran al-Kareem, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls kufr zulumat, darknesses. See, the same thing. He calls kufr zulumat. Sins are zulumat. These zulumat, of course, will go away with the nur. And the nur is the deen of Allah and the iman. So zulumat, what is zulumat? What is kufr? When people are missing the light, when the light is not there, it's called darkness. When the haqq is not there, it's called batil. When the batil will come, the haqq will come. When the haqq will come, the batil will go away. That's the nature of it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that فَيَدْمَغُهُ فَإِذَا هُوَ زَاهِرٌ. This is the nature of the falsehood, that it goes away, it vanishes. وَلَكُمُ الْوَيْلُ مِمَّا تَصِفُونَ. And woe to you for what you describe and what you attribute to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is cursing the kuffar for attributing wrongdoings to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh, He created all of this. He did not create all of this for you to take all of this and misuse it. All the wrongdoings that you're doing. If a person, wal-'iyāzu billah, commits adultery, and he's saying, is Allah created this, wal-'iyāzu billah, you cannot blame Allah. Why don't you do it in the right way, fulfill that lust and desire that Allah created within you in the right way? There is a right use for it. If that right use was not there, you would not be a perfect human being. So He created the right desire, but you're misusing it. You're using it as haram. So don't blame Allah for your wrongdoings. وَلَكُمُ الْوَيْلُ مِمَّا تَصِفُونَ. Woe to you for what you describe to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and whatever you attribute to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, things that He does not do and He is not. Inshallah, we'll continue after Salah. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وله من في السماوات والأرض ومن عنده لا يستكبرون عن عبادته ولا يستحسرون يسبحون الليل والنهار لا يفترون. صدق الله العظيم. So as we were talking about ayah number 16, 17 and 18 of the surah before Salah, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have told us the purpose of creating this universe, the purpose of creating this heaven and the earth, and the purpose of creating us. A very important message that we all really need to take back from these ayahs of Al-Quran al-Kareem, which is the purpose of studying the Quran, that what is it that we would learn from it? How can we benefit from the ayahs of the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Something for us to ask ourselves now after studying these ayahs, that if everything is created for a reason and for a purpose, and we all know the purpose of creating human beings is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said it very clearly in Quran al-Kareem, that He created us, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I created the jinns and human beings only to worship me alone. And He created this universe for human beings to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to be able to live here and worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that also in Quran, هُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ لَكُم مَا فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا. He created everything that exists on the surface of this world, on this earth, for you people. So, everything is for us and we are created for the ibadah of Allah. In other words, the purpose of the creation of this universe is the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The question now is, how much of that purpose are we fulfilling in our life? How much of our time, our life is being spent in fulfilling that purpose of our existence, which is the main reason for which we exist? How much of our time is being spent for that? And if you really look at our schedules, there are certain things that we can figure very easily. We don't need a lot of calculations for it. that if a person is to live for 60 years, or let's take it a little longer, 70 years of his life. Say if we get a 70 years to live. Up to the age of 10, we are not going to be doing anything, and I'm sure much longer than this, but I'm taking it to the minimum. Say at the age of 10, the person has started getting the responsibility and feeling the responsibility, sensing it, and started doing the ibadah. Salah, whatever else, fasting, started at that age. So 10 years are gone. Which we are, of course, not going to be questioned about it anyway, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us that leeway, we can say, or that we are not going to be responsible for the things at that young age. Then, 60 more years to go. Each day, 8 hours for working, and about 8 hours for resting. Here, 2/3 of the day is gone. So for each day, when 2/3 of the day is gone, so out of 60 years, how many years are gone? 2/3 of it? 40 years are gone. Between working and resting. So we have 20 more years to go. And just think, for the rest of the 8 hours of our daily schedule, how much ibadah would we perform and do we perform? What do we do with it? Hardly it would come to an hour a day that we, with all the prayers and recitation and everything else we do, it may be an hour a day. Just imagine how much of that time is just going for no reason. How are we fulfilling the purpose of the life? Even if we spend the other 8 hours every day for worshipping, it will be only 20 years of ibadah out of 70 years. If we spend 8 hours a day from the age of 10 up to the age of 70, 60 years, if a person spent 8 hours of ibadah every day, he would be doing ibadah of only 20 years out of 70 years. So how many of us are doing 8 hours a day from the age of 10 up to 70? Big question there. Something for us to realize. What is it that Allah is reminding us? He's reminding us this thing, we are created for a reason, for a purpose. How much of it are we fulfilling it? Now, if it really worries us, it should. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to have that worry, to have that feeling that I want to do something. I want to fulfill the purpose of my creation, of my existence. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes that very easy. In addition to the fara'id that we have to perform, and of course the other ibadahs, for example, prayers, nawafil, whatever else, and tasbihah, azkar, istighfar, whatever else we have to do in addition to this. The things that we do in our normal day as part of our daily life, we can turn those things into ibadah. Now, the 40 years that we counted as doing nothing and being rested totally, those 40 years can become part of your ibadah. How? Very easy. The other hours, out of 8 hours, I'm not saying all 8 hours, we have a lot of other things to do in our lives besides resting and working. There are, of course, a lot of other things. But the time when we are able to do the ibadah, if during that time we perform the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so I know that I'm working hard towards fulfilling the purpose of my existence, and I'm doing what I'm asked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to do, but as a human being, I have commitments. I cannot really go to work and be there for less than 8 hours. They won't allow me to leave before them. Why not, at the time of leaving for work, I correct my intention? How easy it is. I correct my intention. That, Ya Allah, if it wasn't that I have all of these obligations on me, and the necessities of the life as human beings, and family, and children, and whatever else I have, Ya Allah, I would have spent these hours also for your ibadah, but as a human being I have to go to work. Ya Allah, accept all of those hours of the work as part of your ibadah, because I'm going only to fulfill my responsibility as a human being. And at every step of our life, we make that habit that whatever you do, just quickly, it takes only some seconds to make that intention, I'm doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There will be some great achievements we will achieve by doing this. Number one, this time that we are spending in things that are mubahat. Mubah means things that are allowed. All of that time will become part of the ibadah. This is the beauty of our deen, that makes everything that is allowed for human beings to do, give us that opportunity of converting all of that into ibadah. To the extent, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, a person feeds his wife with his hands, it becomes ibadah. This becomes ibadah. How? With the intention of giving her some good time in her life, pleasing her, pleasing human being, giving her some good time, is part of our deen. It's part of sadaqah. As Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, وَتَبَسُّمُكَ فِي وَجْهِ أَخِيكَ صَدَقَةً. Not your wife, not your children, not your parents, a stranger, a person you don't even know. You meet him and give him a good smile. You smile to a person, it's sadaqah. This is also sadaqah. So imagine how all of these deeds are becoming part of our ibadah, are becoming part of our deen and part of something that we are using it to earn reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I pick up the glass of water. One is, I just pick it up and drink it because I'm thirsty. The second is, my intention is, if I drink it now, I will be able to continue talking about the ayahs of Allah. This drinking, this water will become part of my ibadah. So it's all up to us now. If we have this worry from these ayahs, that how can I make a good use of my time and use my life for the purpose for which I have been sent to this world, then everything will start coming into ibadah and becoming ibadah. Even a person picking up a glasses and wearing it, so that I would be able to see the book of Allah, so that I can see something good out of it. I can see my parents. I would be able to see things around me and be able to protect people from hardships. As many intentions you make just by this action here, which no one in the world would ever think it can ever become ibadah, you are getting so many rewards as long as you're wearing it with that intention. And intention does not have to continue throughout. It's not that you have to remind yourself all the time. At the time of doing the act, starting the act, that was your intention. This is your intention, this is what you're rewarded for. So we leave from here, going back home. The intention is, let me go back, we will talk about some of the ayahs that we studied today. I'll go and find out if they have done salah and remind them if they did not. And make a lot of intentions. All of this is your ibadah, this is all rewarding for you. Now, it's not only just going back home. It's not just running away from the masjid. In fact, from ibadah going to another ibadah. Let me sleep early at night, so that I would be able to wake up for Salat al-Fajr and perform the ibadah that Allah requires me to perform. Your sleeping is ibadah. Your resting is ibadah. Your eating is ibadah. All of this will become part of our ibadah. How simple Allah makes it. How easy Allah made this deen for us. The other benefit we will achieve if we have this, if we develop this habit is, we will refrain from wrongdoing. Because the person with right senses, I'm not talking about people with common sense of today, I'm talking people with right senses, will never take a sin and consider that as part of their deen. Something forbidden, the person would not dare to do it. I don't want to commit the sin. Why? Because he is of, or she is of the habit of making the intention of reward on ibadah and pleasing Allah every step and everything that this person does. So if I would use this thing here, it's not allowed, so I cannot make this ibadah because I don't want to get into it. So this will protect us from getting into haram. And now we can understand the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam when he was asked, Ya Rasulullah, what is sin? What is the wrongdoing? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Ma haka fi nafsik. Something that will tickle you inside your heart, but no, you are not supposed to do it. It's not a normal person who is not used to converting these things into ibadah. This is a person who is of the habit of using all of these things as ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Things that are allowed, mubahat in Islam, he uses all of those as ibadah of Allah. When this person will be thinking of doing something that he is not sure if this is sin, but there is something telling him, how can you make the intention of ibadah in this thing here? Which means, stay away from it. In other hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used the word, وَإِنْ أَفْتَاكَ النَّاسُ أَفْتَوْكَ. No matter how many people will give you the fatwa, you stay away from it. Because you know inside your heart, after having that habit and developing that other, whenever you do something, you do it as ibadah of Allah. And this makes you think, how can I do this? Turn into the ibadah of Allah. So then you just leave it. Stay away from it. No matter how many people will give you the fatwa about it. So, this is something very important that we learn from these ayahs, that our life is for a purpose. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed us with this time for a reason, for a purpose. And if we use it properly in this world, we are going to be in peace in the akhirah. This life is mainly for hereafter. This life, the purpose of this life is not just to live here and end it. This is exactly what Allah is reminding us, that I did not create all of this to play. This universe is not created to play with and as a sport and for me just to sit and watch. In fact, there is a day of judgment. There is a day that's coming and where every human being will be judged for his or her deed. All human beings will be judged. So if this was only to play, then there would be no judgment. That's it. The game is over. Now I'm going to create another game. And create third game. When I'm tired seeing this game, then I will have another game. This is not the purpose. We really need to give it a very serious thought how we are going to work towards bettering our life, fulfilling the purpose of our creation, fulfilling the purpose of our existence. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after mentioning the purpose of creating this universe and reminding us of that very important fact, he says, he's talking about his oneness. وَلَهُ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَنْ عِنْدَهُ لَا يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ عَنْ عِبَادَتِهِ وَلَا يَسْتَحْسِرُونَ. He says, and whoever is in the heavens and on the earth, it's all his. Everyone and everything is his. If someone owns all of this, why would he have to choose something, few things out of it to say, this is my wife, this is my child, this is my this? He doesn't have to do that. This is my daughter. He doesn't need none of this. Everything is his. And not only that, وَمَنْ عِنْدَهُ لَا يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ عَنْ عِبَادَتِهِ. And those who are with him, they are not arrogant against his worship. Angels that are always there, they are never arrogant against his worship. They never feel that, why should we worship him? I got to the level that I don't need to worship al-'iyāzu billah anymore. Human beings sometimes, they get to that position, oh, why should I do it? So, وَمَنْ عِنْدَهُ, and the ones that are around Allah, which means angels, لَا يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ عَنْ عِبَادَتِهِ وَلَا يَسْتَحْسِرُونَ, and they never get exhausted. They are never tired of the ibadah of Allah. And it's not that they pray only 5 times a day. يُسَبِّحُونَ اللَّيْلَ وَالنَّهَارِ, they glorify Him by night and day. Subhanallah, angels, day and night, they are glorifying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are some angels, as Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, some angels, They are in tasbih, saying Subhanallah, 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 from the day they were created, and they will continue doing this tasbih forever, up to the day of Qiyamah, or it may even continue after. Some in ruku', they are continuously in ruku'. Some in sujood, they will continuously be in sujood. Different forms of ibadah, and these angels continuously are performing those ibadahs that is assigned to them. They never give up, they never get tired. It's not like us, where we just give up after a few days, where we are tired after a few rak'ahs, after reciting a few pages, we are tired after reciting some tasbih, we give up. They do not give up. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that look, if these angels are also doing the ibadah of Allah, number one, O human being, why shouldn't you perform the ibadah? Whereas these angels are not afraid of the punishment of Allah because there is no adab for them. They are not going to be questioned. We will be questioned for our deeds. Number two, very important reminder that if these angels are serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then how can you depend on them that they are going to intercede on my behalf on the day of judgment and take me to Jannah, or these will do everything for me and they will save me from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wal-'iyāzu billah, or I should worship them, or they are the daughters of Allah wal-'iyāzu billah as the kuffar used to claim? There is no need for that. They can do nothing. They are offering the ibadah of Allah, as one of the people who used to worship the sun. One day, he is thinking about his creator, about wal-'iyāzu billah, according to his understanding, his Lord. After giving it a good thought, he comes to one of the Muslim scholars and he says, I would like to embrace Islam. Can you tell me why? What made you think about Islam? He said, yes. When I started thinking about sun, I considered it greater God than any other God that normally people worship. These idols, fire, anything else. I thought this could be the greatest out of other objects that people worship. But when I started thinking about it, I said to myself, look, this sun can never do anything of its own. Every day it has to keep on going on that circle. Same circle. It has to keep on going. If the sun, for any reason, at any time, decides, I would like to stop for a second, will not be able to. The one who is so dependent on someone else, how can I make myself dependent on him? What a thought, subhanAllah, when Allah opens up the person's mind for hidayah. That the person is coming to realization that this person is only serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah made an orbit for him that keep on going within this. Don't go nowhere else. He cannot go. Don't stop. Cannot stop. So, it cannot control himself. So how should I worship the sun who has no control over itself? How would it have any control over me? So therefore I realized that I must worship the one who controls all of these things. And that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no one else. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us of these facts. That look, these angels, what are angels? After all, they are involved in the ibadah of Allah. And a person, the one who is in the ibadah, who is serving someone else, how can he or she be the God? So anyone who has to offer a worship to someone else, that person cannot be God. Isa alayhi salatu wasalam is offering a worship to someone else, cannot be God. Maryam alayhi salam offering worship to someone else cannot be God. Angels offering worship to someone else, they cannot be God. The God is the one for whom all of these are offering their worship, and He never worships them. He never worships them. So, These angels are doing the ibadah of Allah. They never give up. They never get tired. لا يفترون يسبحون الليل والنهار لا يفترون. They never give up. They never get tired. They never pause. They never stop. And this is from this ayah we also learn that tasbih is one of the great ibadah. Subhanallah. Subhanallah wa bihamdih. Subhanallah al-azim is one of the great form of the ibadah. Such a great form of ibadah that Allah assigned this ibadah to many of the angels who would just continuously keep on doing the tasbih of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In fact, in another ayah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, الَّذِينَ يَحْمِلُونَ الْعَرْشَ وَمَنْ حَوْلَهُ. Those who carry the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and those who are around the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what do they do? Those who are carrying the arsh of Allah and those who are around them, around the arsh of Allah, what do they do? يُسَبِّحُونَ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّهِمْ. They keep on praising and glorifying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَيُؤْمِنُونَ بِهِ. They believe in Allah. وَيَسْتَغْفِرُونَ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. And they keep on asking forgiveness for the people of Iman. This is what they're assigned to do. What a great form of ibadah for us to do, that thing that angels are assigned to perform and angels are assigned to do. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala after this, after reminding us of these, that none of these objects can be God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَمِ اتَّخَذُوا مِن دُونِهِ آلِهَةً. Have they taken gods beside Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And still, would they have anything else as a God beside Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How can they do something like this? Even if angels are not worthy of worship, if these idols are not worthy of worship, nothing is worthy of worship, then have they still taken gods beside Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? أَمِ اتَّخَذُوا آلِهَةً مِنَ الْأَرْضِ هُمْ يَنْشِرُونَ. Have they chosen God from the earth who raised dead? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, okay, still you believe in some other being God. Okay, tell me, can your God bring people back to life? أَمِ اتَّخَذُوا آلِهَةً مِنَ الْأَرْضِ. Have they chosen gods from the earth? هُمْ يَنْشِرُونَ. Who bring people back to life? Who can give life to others? لَوْ كَانَ فِيهِمَا آلِهَةٌ إِلَّا اللَّهُ لَفَسَدَتَا. If there had been in them, which means in the heaven and the earth, any God except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they would both have certainly been in a state of disorder. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned a very extremely important proof of His oneness. It's really an ayah. If we spend hours and hours just talking about this ayah and the oneness of Allah explained in this ayah, it won't be enough. But I would just like to point out some very quick points in the light of this ayah that will make us see and realize and be able to witness for the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a good understanding, where there will be no doubt and no room for doubt either. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that if there was more than one God in this universe, there would have been disorder in this universe. Why? If there are two gods, one God says that, this man was praying to me, and because he prayed to me, I would like to cure him. The other one says, no, he did not pray to me, so I won't cure him. And I don't want him to be cured until he prays to me. There will somewhere along these lines will be a conflict between the two gods. Yes, there is one possibility, and that is, both of them would consult each other before doing anything. So now there is no conflict, and everything will be running smooth. But could you see the problem there? Can each God do anything without consulting the other one? No. So it's not independent God. It's not Allah's Samad. It's not independent. Every God is dependent on the other one. Then I can do. God, please forgive me. Wait. Let me ask the other one if he agrees with me. لو كان فيهما آلهة إلا الله لفسدتا. There would have been a lot of disorder in this world, in this universe. One says it will rain, the other will say no, let these people die, starve to death. Who's going to solve it? And we always see that disorder within the house. When we don't know who is the Amir, then there is always conflict. No, we should do this. No, I'm going to do this. It always happens. But remember, without going into too much detail of this, really there are a lot of details there, without going into too much details of it, remember one thing. This proves that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mentioned in this ayah comes at a final stage when you're talking to a person who does not believe in God or who believes in more than one God. This becomes at a final stage. The first step is proving the need of God. Here we are talking about not having more than one. So someone says there are 100. Someone says there are 200. And now that person requires us that if you don't believe that there are 200 gods in the world, then bring me 200 proofs that will disprove all of my gods. This is not what I'm going to do. We will start from the first step, from the scratch, and that is, first thing, let's talk about, do we need a God? Is there any God? That will be the first question. And of course, when a person will look at the existence of this universe, most certainly every human being will agree to there is a creator. Who is that creator? We call him Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People can change the name and call it nature. But still they believe there is a power over there that is out of their control. They call it nature. Let them give it that name. What is this nature? Who created the nature? Who made it happen in that function in that way? Who's making that nature run everything so smoothly in this universe? What is that nature? Of course, just to reject Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are giving it a different name. Otherwise, everyone has to agree, every human being with right senses will agree, there is a creator. Okay? From the point of the need of the creator, we realize that there is a creator, and there is a need for a creator, there is a need for someone who will keep on running this universe smoothly, and everything in this universe that is there, it will keep on functioning properly, so there is no need for someone to take care of all of this. And that is, of course, we know that there is Allah. Now, tell me the need, if you believe that there are 200 God wal a'yadu billah, now tell me the need, why would we need 199 more gods? He has to prove that, not us. If he would tell us, you are rejecting it, so you have to disprove it, no, it's wrong. I prove to you the need of God. That is for me to prove. And I will prove that to you. But after this, when you tell me there are 10, there are 50, there is 100, there are 200, tell me why that one is not enough. What's wrong with this one? For which you will need another one. What is it that this one could not do by himself and he needed another one to help him with? That's something that they have to prove. And there is no proof for it. This is why, now we see why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again and again says in the Quran, uses the word, فَأْتُوا بِسُلْطَانٍ. Bring some proof of what you're saying. Bring me some proof that why I'm not enough to run this universe. What do you think is missing in me? What do you think is wrong with me? What are my shortcomings in running this universe with ayaz billah that you think that you need someone else with ayaz billah? The kuffar, sometimes their belief was that, Allah wa ayaz billah, because of limited understanding of Allah, there are so many human beings in the world. So how can you listen to all of us at once? So all of us will have one idol, and 10, 15 people, 50 or 100 people will worship that idol, and that one will take our needs back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now Allah doesn't have to deal with so many millions of people, He will have to deal with only 100,000. This is limiting the attributes of Allah. This is why when a person came, one of the kuffar came, and he became Muslim, because of that very limited understanding of God, after becoming Muslim, he started making dua. Allahumma arhamni wa Muhammada wa la tarham ma'ana ahada. Oh Allah, have mercy on me and Muhammad only, and have no mercy on anyone else in the world. Limited understanding of God. That if Allah will have mercy on all the people in the world, then I will get a very small share of it. I will miss most of the rahmah of Allah. I won't have it. This is his very limited understanding. In fact, not only his, this is the background he comes from. Why God needed a son? He wanted to forgive. He was very merciful. He couldn't forgive. And people are not asking for forgiveness. They are not offering the sacrifice they are supposed to. And he wants to forgive, but look at the point there. He could not forgive. So he had to create someone, call him his son, and kill him so that he can forgive. Limitation there. Putting limitation to God. This is where all of this comes from. And you keep on looking at all of those who are associating any relationships, any partners to Allah, they will always have limited understanding of Allah and limiting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with certain limits according to their own understanding. Oh, how can he see so many people at once? How can he hear so many people at once? How can he forgive all the people without doing anything? I mean, limiting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with certain limitations. But of course, our iman about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, He has no limits. He does whatever He wants. فَعَالٌ لِمَا يُرِيدُ. He does whatever He wills and He wants. And therefore, He does not need anyone else. He does not need anyone else. So this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us, that if there would have been any more than one God in this universe, there would have been a lot of disorder, but there is no disorder in the functioning of this universe. See how smoothly everything is running and how smoothly this whole universe is functioning. لو كان فيهما آلهة إلا الله لفسدتا فسبحان الله رب العرش عما يصفون. So glory be to Allah, the Lord of the throne, from what they describe and attribute to Him. He is pure of all of those shortcomings that they are attributing to Him. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. He has no limit. He has no shortcomings. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. And there is nothing, no one can limit Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with everything. In fact, He tells us one more thing. لا يسأل عما يفعل وهم يسألون. He cannot be questioned for His acts, but they will be questioned. Everyone beside Allah will be questioned. Every living being will be questioned. Our human being and jinns will be questioned. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot be questioned. As sometimes people, oh, why Allah does this? لا يسأل عما يفعل. He cannot be questioned. If He is independent, if we believe in Him, Allah is Samad, He is totally independent, then who are we to question Allah? A person like us can question Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why would you do something like this? لا يسأل عما يفعل. He cannot be questioned. So if as they used to believe that وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ there is more than one God, can any of those gods question Allah? Why do you do this? Why didn't you do that? لا يسأل عما يفعل. He cannot be questioned of what He does. Someone is born handicapped. Someone dies out of some disease. لا يسأل عما يفعل. Don't question Allah. Don't ask Allah, why did you do this? وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. We can never do anything like this. That doesn't suit us. That doesn't fit us to question Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But yes, for us, we all will be questioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This shows our limitations. And this shows the independence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He cannot be questioned. There is no power in the world that questions Him. But we always will be questioned. And every human being will be questioned. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us that right iman and believe in the oneness of Allah and in the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and understanding these great attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.